Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Kristina. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys all about what it's really like to be a nursing student. In my videos, I talk about nursing school and a plant-based diet. If you like these types of videos, please like this video and subscribe down below. Let's get into it. So before I started nursing school, I had no idea what to expect. I have no friends that are in nursing school or were in nursing school, so I really had no idea what to expect or what to even prepare for. So hopefully this video will help you to ease those nerves or to clarify some things before you start school yourself. The biggest thing that really surprised me about nursing school was that we have so much hands-on experience. I really thought that we would have a lot of online things and maybe once or twice being able to go into the actual hospital for clinicals, but I know some schools aren't able to go in because of COVID still, but my school we're still allowed to go in for our clinical rotations, which I think is awesome. You're really able to learn the material in class and then put it to use, so to speak, in clinical setting. Another thing that I was really surprised about was how time-consuming nursing school is. I knew it was going to be time-consuming, but I didn't realize just how much you had to put into the coursework. So I already did my master's program, so I figured this would be like a cakewalk and I would just be finishing through school like really fast and would find it super easy, but it really wasn't the case. Nursing school is really challenging, and I'm sure most of you already know this, but it really puts you in that frame of mind where you have to think critically, you have to be on your toes, and you really have to study a lot. So the biggest thing was trying to manage everything with my normal everyday day-to-day life. I already have an almost 2-year-old and I'm married, so on top of everything with school, I had to manage time with them and trying to be a part of my daughter's life and be home for my husband. So really trying to balance everything out is what is super challenging, because if you're not good at organizing, then it makes it a lot harder, but if you are, then you have that upper hand. So make sure that when you first start school that you are aware of that, and if you have things that you have going on like events and stuff like that, I would really recommend maybe to reduce the amount of events that you go to that year or those couple of years that you're in school. If you're in a 4-year program, then obviously it would be a little bit longer, but just make sure that you know how to prioritize, and you need to know how long it will take you to study for an exam. So initially, you're not going to know how long it's going to take you to study for an exam because you're just learning how to answer those style of questions and learning how nursing school differs from other courses or your prerequisite courses, because it is entirely different. These are more critical thinking questions that you just are really confused about, and sometimes you're like, where did they get this from, because I don't remember learning about this. But those days will happen, and that's okay. It's just how you absorb the information and how you are able to think critically going forward. Being that I'm in my 3rd semester now, I really know how long I need to study for an exam. I know for certain classes I need more time to study for them, while other classes I may not need as much time. So it really depends on which classes are harder for you or which classes are easier for you, so that you could really prioritize and see how much studying you would need per week. I know a lot of professors say X amount of hours per week, and that's not the case for everyone, because some of us need more than 40 hours to study, and some of us need only like 15 hours to study. So it really depends on what type of student you are. Me personally, I have to study a lot in order to do well, and I'm okay with that as long as I do well. Another thing that I wanted to mention going back to clinicals is the fact that when you first start, you would think that you would have some introduction course where they would teach you how to interact with patients, and they could talk about it all they want, but when you're actually at the hospital, it is entirely different. So let me say that one more time. When you're at the hospital, it is entirely different, because in class versus in the hospital, it is so different. What happens in a textbook is not going to be exactly what happens at the hospital. So you will have patients that might have certain conditions where you learned about, or things that you have learned about, but it is different because you have a live patient. It's not just a textbook anymore. So So keep that in mind when you're going into the hospital, that you need to be prepared for that. When I first started my clinicals in my first semester, I was really in shock because I didn't realize that I was going to have my own patient or be assigned with a friend to have a patient and have to go through the whole nursing process by ourselves. I really thought that we'd be guided along more, but at the same time, when you are a nurse, you're not going to really have someone that's going to hold your hand. And most of the times you're going to have 6 patients in some of the hospitals. A lot of hospitals are understaffed, so it's really important to make sure that you are confident with your patients. So that leads me to my next point. It is so important to be confident and comfortable with your patients. Now you may be thinking, how am I supposed to be confident as a new nursing student doing my first semester clinicals, seeing patients that I've never been around before, and to show them that I can help take care of them when I don't know what to do? Well, the biggest thing that I learned is that if you jump into things and if you fake it till you make it, that's what my teachers always say, then it definitely helps, because the more you do that, it ends up not being faking it anymore. It ends up being you are actually learning those skills and you're actually able to do it. And then you fall into a pattern of actually being able to be a good nursing student. So it does take time. It's a learning process. And if you have experience where you are already working in the hospital setting now, that's great. That's great experience, but I didn't have that experience working in the hospital. I worked in more like clinical offices and stuff like that. While I still interacted with patients, it was never direct one-on-one care, or maybe a little bit, but it was nothing to the degree that we had to deal with actually in the hospital. Another thing that I wanted to mention related back to going into the hospital is make sure that the skills that you are checked off on, you feel comfortable doing those skills in the hospital. So what we had to do for our checkoff was to take a blood pressure, respiratory rate, and pulse for one of our classmates, and that was our checkoff grade, and it was in front of one of our clinical instructors so that they could make sure that we were prepared and ready for the hospital before we went. If you're in an accelerated program, just keep in mind that you are going to have to be in school over summers. Now that is a huge sacrifice in of itself, because nursing school is challenging, and then you have to add on the fact that you'll have to be there over the summer as well, and that is really exhausting. So I literally had my last final last week Monday, and now I start this Monday, which is just a few days away, and I am looking forward to it, but I'm also still trying to recover from that last semester because I was really burnt out. So just keep in mind that, yeah, everyone wants to finish fast and you want to do a 12-month program or whatever month program, but just keep that in mind. If I had the option between a 15-month program and an 18-month program, go with the longer one, because in the end, that will only benefit you, because that means that your semesters aren't as condensed. So in regards to the length of the program, my ABSN program is 15 months long, so I graduate in December. So that's one of the great things about being in an accelerated program, is that you get to finish so quickly, but it does move really fast. So keep that in mind. It's not like because you already have your bachelor's degree in a science that you have an upper advantage. It does help, but it's not like an automatic, you know, you got this and it's a cakewalk. Because I have my bachelor's in science and biology, and I have my master's in biological sciences, and it definitely helps because I'm able to think critically and answer questions differently, but I also have my weak points, plenty of them, and I'm learning as I go. One other huge tip that I highly recommend, and I've said it before in a couple of other videos, but really make friends and make a solid group of people to study with, even if it's one person. So I just study with one other person, but me and her have been studying together since the first semester, so we already know how each other work, and we know when we're tired or when we need a break or when we need to just like get up and go get something to eat. So it really helps when you're on the same pace as someone else. So before your program starts, if you're able to like talk to people that are about to be in the program, or if you don't know anyone, then when you start classes, when you're at orientation, definitely try to make friends and try to find maybe 1 or 2 people that you feel comfortable with studying. Since we're able to study together, we're able to talk about different concepts that we learn in class. And let's say one of us wasn't paying attention. Well, even if it's for 5 minutes, that's valuable information that, you know, we're humans, we're not robots, right? But if the other person was paying attention, then we'll be like, oh, do you remember what this was? And then we're able to fill each other in. So there you go, you have an advantage because you have two brains. Because we're both working, we're both trying to learn, and we both learn different things at different ways. So the last thing that I recommend that you do not do is do not buy random resources from these websites to get flashcards, to get notebooks, to get all these different things that you can get that are nursing related but are supposed to help you pass whatever class. Most of the time, it's not relevant to your particular class. If you see one that's relevant to your particular class, then sure. If that really helped you, then sure. But most of the time, at least when I bought a lot of those things, I didn't really use them. I looked at them maybe once or twice and it really didn't get me far. So there was only like one thing that I got that was pretty helpful, and it was like this binder of things, and it said like all these acronyms and stuff like that. That was the only thing that really helped me, but the other stuff that I got that were like those nursing cards, those little books, reference pages and stuff like that, those really didn't help me. I think that it just takes away from the information that you need to learn, and it adds other information that you're not going to be really tested on. So those sort of things I don't really recommend. But what I do recommend, highly recommend, is to go on YouTube, and you could watch other videos of people like Simple Nursing or Level Up RN, where they talk about different concepts that you do have to learn in class and also for the NCLEX. So if you're having trouble with a concept, watch a video, 1 or 2, but don't sit there and watch the whole thing about it, because what your teacher might want you to know might not be what they're going over. So make sure that it's very specific as to what you're watching and why you're watching it, because some things are really not relevant to your class or to your professor specifically. So I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please like it and subscribe down below. And like always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, or you could send me a message on my Instagram. I'm always willing to help you, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye!